What's going on, guys? Luis Arevalo Jr. with SoCal Contracting Services Inc. And in today's video, I'm going to teach you guys how to calculate how many yards you need for a concrete slab, right? So before I teach you guys that, first and foremost, there's some dimensions that you need to learn, right? So what are these dimensions? Well, in construction, you're either dealing with feet, with inches, yards, or cubic feet, cubic yards, etc., right? So these are dimensions, right? In order to be able to calculate your material, how much concrete you're gonna need, etc., you're gonna need to know these dimensions, right? So first things first, you need to know that 1 foot equals 12 inches, right? Pretty basic. 1 yard equals 3 feet, right? And 1 yard equals 36 inches. Why? Because 1 yard equals 3 feet. There's 12 inches in 1 foot, so you do 12 times 3, that gives you 36, right? So why do you need to know this? Because when you are trying to figure out the area of whatever, a driveway or a room or something like that, you're gonna need to know how to convert feet and inches to get whatever square footage or whatever it is that you're trying to find. You're gonna need to know the dimensions in order to calculate how much material you're gonna need to order, right? So some basic fundamentals here. Next, what I'm gonna teach you is how to convert in between these dimensions, right? So for example, let's say you're given inches, right? So let's say you're given 288 inches. How do you convert those inches into feet? Well, it's very simple. When you're converting from inches to feet, you divide by 12, right? When you're converting from inches to feet, you divide by 12. When you're converting from feet to inches, you multiply by 12, right? Same thing with the feet to yards. When you're converting feet into yards, you divide by 3. When you're converting yards into feet, you multiply by 3, right? Same thing with inches to yards. When you're converting inches into yards, you divide by 36. Why? Because there's 36 inches in 1 yard. Same thing here. You divide by 3 because there's 3 feet in 1 yard, right? So again, sorry. When you're converting yards into inches, you multiply by 36. Okay, so now that you know that, let's convert the first example. So you're given 288 inches. How many feet is that, right? So what are we doing? We're converting inches into feet. So what do? We have to divide by 12. 288 divided by 12 gives me 24 feet, right? How do you double check that? You multiply 24 by 12 and it should give you 288. And if you put it in your calculator, that's exactly what you get. Now the next one, let's say you're given feet and you want to convert it into yards. You have 96 feet. Now if we're going from feet to yards, what do? We divide by 3. So if you have 96 feet, you divide 96 by 3 and that gives you 32 yards, right? 96 divided by 3 is 32 yards. How do you double check? Multiply 32 by 3 and that gives you 96 feet, right? In the last example, you have 1,946 yards, right? So if we want to convert yards into inches, what do? Yards into inches, you multiply by 36. So if I have 1,946 yards, multiply that by 36 and that gives me 70,056 inches. Alright, so now that we've covered these dimensions and how to convert feet to inches, inches to feet, yard to feet, etc., we're going to get into area and volume, right? Because when you're calculating slabs, you're dealing with area and volume. Before I teach you how to calculate the slab, there's one more thing that we have to cover, right? You need to know that 1 square foot equals 144 square inches, right? Inches squared, right? So what does that mean? Basically, if I were to draw a square, 1 square foot is 12 inches, right? Because there's 12 inches in 1 foot by 12 inches. What this means is that in 1 12 by 12, 1 square foot, okay? In 1 square foot, there are 144 perfect square inches, right? So in reality, I mean, my drawing isn't that perfect, right? But basically what that means, that's what that means, right? In 1 square foot, so when you order material, let's say you're ordering tile or whatever, you order by the square foot, right? So that's area. So you need to know that 1 square foot is equal to 144 square inches, right? So when you're ordering your material, you need to know the dimensions of your material so that you know how to calculate how much material you're gonna need for the area of that bathroom or that living room or et cetera, right? So 1 square foot equals 144 square inches, right? Now, we're gonna get into calculating a slab, right? So there's different types of slabs that you're gonna deal with in construction, right? There, you have 6-inch slabs, which are typically commercial. You have 4-inch slabs, which is pretty standard. You have 5-inch slabs. You have 3.5 inch. 3.5 inch is the bare minimum, right? For a 3.5 inch slab, you don't need rebar, but typically for 4 inches and above, you're always required to put rebar in your concrete, right? So, and also the thickness of the slab is based on what it's being used for, right? You're not gonna put a 6-inch slab in a residential driveway. Let's just say you have a 2-car driveway, right? So it's 20 feet wide by whatever, 20 feet long, right? And it's 4 inches thick. So it's 20 feet wide, 20 feet long, and it's 4 inches thick. First, you need to calculate the square footage of the area of the driveway, right? And keep in mind, not all driveways are gonna be a perfect square. This is just, I'm just giving you the formula on how to calculate a basic slab, right? So it's all geometry, area, volume. It's really not that difficult. Once you get the hang of it, it's really easy, trust me. So first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna multiply 20 by 20, right? 20 by 20, that's gonna give you 400 square feet. That's only giving us the surface area, right? What we need to do next is convert that square footage into cubic yards. So how do we do that? I'm gonna give you the shortcut first and then I'll teach you the long way, right? So this only works for a 4-inch slab. If you're doing a 5-inch slab or 6-inch slab or a 3.5-inch slab, you're gonna have to do it the long way. But for a 4-inch slab, the fastest way to calculate how many yards you're gonna need is you multiply the length times the height, or length times width, whatever it is, and then you divide by 81. So you do 20 times 20, that gives you 400 square feet. Now divide 400 by 81, it's gonna give you, divide by 81, it's gonna give you 4.93 yards. Typically when you order concrete, you're not gonna call them and say, give me 4.93 yards of concrete. You're gonna round up. So instead of ordering 4.93 yards, when you call and you order your concrete, you're gonna say, I need 5 yards of concrete, right? So this is the shortcut way. The long way is, what you do is you multiply 20 by 20 by 4 inches, right? But there's a problem here. You have feet and you have inches. When you have two different dimensions like this, you have to convert so they're all feet, right? Or all inches, it doesn't matter, but in this case, feet. So you have to convert the inches, the 4 inches into feet. So how do you do that? You do 4 inches. Remember the dimensions I showed you guys earlier? So now you have to do 4 inches, right? Divided by 12. And that'll give you 0.333 infinity feet, right? So when you're typing in your calculations, you just gotta put 0.333, right? So what you're gonna do is 20 feet times 20 feet times 0.333, and that's gonna give you 133.2 square feet, right? 133.2 square feet. Sorry, this is in the way. But we're not done. We don't need the square footage. We need how many yards. So next you're gonna do is divide by 27. 133.2 divided by 27 is gonna give you 4.93 yards, right? It's the same exact answer. It's just different way of doing it. Now remember, the divide by 81 only works for 4-inch slabs. If it's a 5-inch slab, you're gonna have to do it this way, the long way. Because you're gonna do length times width times whatever the thickness of the slab is. Now, if it's 5 inches, you're gonna divide 5 by 12 so that you convert the inches into feet. Once you convert the inches into feet, then you just multiply 20 by 20 by whatever point, whatever the footage is, and then that's gonna give you the square footage. Then you divide the square feet by 27 in order to get the yards. And that's how you calculate how much concrete you're gonna need for a slab. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm trying to keep it short and concise, straight to the point. Don't waste any time. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want more videos like this, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.